Thank you. Bueno, pues ahora vamos a hacer la esferificación.
So now we're going to make Spherification.
Que nació en el año 2003.
It born in the year 2003.
Aquí tenemos agua.
So vamos a ir poco a poco.
Sí.
So let's go slowly, you know.
Sí.
So ¿lo explico? ¿Lo explicamos? So Spherification. What spherification is all about? Spherification is to get a liquid that you will submerge in another liquid, and the first liquid that you submerge into the new one will end becoming kind of a sphere that has a shell, a very thin layer in its exterior. That's spherification. The drop of water in another water bath that allows a chemical reaction, a gelatination, that allows us to make these kind of amazing balls. So here we have, esta es la básica. Here is what Ferran calls the basic spherification. And this is what he created in 2003. Basic spherification is what you see here. It's a liquid, let's say it's water, any flavor you choose. And here we mix an ingredient that is called sodium alginate. From now on, we are going to call it alginate. Alginate is seaweed. You know when you go to the beach and you see seaweed? We make a powder out of the seaweed that we call alginate. And usually comes from an algae, which are the brown varieties. It's different kinds, one called luminaria. It's many varieties. The important is that it's a powder that comes from seaweed, okay? So the alginate is mixed here, and then this mix of water with the alginate goes into a water bath that has a powder that is called calcium chloride. Calcium chloride. Forget chloride, calcium, right? So the liquid with the alginate goes into the liquid, into the water with calcium. Are you with me? So we leave it there for 1 minute, and what happens is that it starts in the exterior, it starts gelatinizing, creating a shell, almost like the shell of an egg yolk. So take a look what happens. Todo tuyo. Un momento, espera, la cámara ya está. Sí. Mira, que está ahí. The camera, TV. Yeah. I want the world to see.
Profesional, profesional,
So, guys, take a look because this is fascinating. This was water a minute ago.
En el año 2003,
in the year 2003,
cuando ahí en el taller,
when they were at El Taller,
hicimos esto que vais a ver.
And this happened, right? What you see. That was a fascinating moment. Eureka, right?
No, dijimos, ostras.
Oysters, wow.
¿Por qué? Porque estábamos viendo que estábamos delante de algo importante.
You know, he was very excited because right in that moment he saw that they were right in front of something very important.
Pero ¿qué problema tenía esto?
But, you know, this technique was great, allows them to make many things, but this had a little problem.
Cuando tú le ponías a un producto el alginato,
when you will put to a product the alginate,
¿no? Depende cuál era el producto,
depends what the product was,
¿no? Cuajaba.
That product will coagulate very quick and in a bad way.
Y se podía hacer con muy pocos productos.
So, you know, he saw that with the calcium chloride and the alginate partnership, he couldn't handle every single product. He could only use very few products.
Entonces, un año después,
so a year later, 2004,
empezamos a reflexionar.
They went through the thought process about spherification.
Junto con Pere Castell.
Next to Pere Castell, who is a scientist that works next to Ferran.
Que en aquella época estaba en el taller de Barcelona.
That at that time he was at El Taller, his creative place in Barcelona, back in time.
Antes de ir director del Departamento Científico de Galicia.
before becoming the director of the scientific department at Alicia Foundation,
que lo del calcio, ¿no? ¿Dónde estaba el calcio? ¿Dónde había el calcio, no?
they began looking for other sources and other ingredients to use calcium and substitute the calcium chloride that they were using before.
Digo, en la leche,
Then they saw that in milk,
yogur,
yogurt,
digo, wow, fantástico.
those were products that had calcium. So
Entonces,
he thought, wow, brilliant, great.
Vamos a cambiar.
Let's change the process completely.
Aquí el alginato está aquí,
Right now, the alginate was here.
el calcio está
And
aquí.
the calcium chloride, the calcium was in this water bath here on the left.
Aquí el calcio está aquí
Now the product is the one that has the calcium,
y el alginato aquí.
and now the water bath is the one that has the alginate.
Es fantástico.
Bingo, fantastic. So take a look at what happens when he
Por
drops
ejemplo,
this.
esto es maravilloso para enseñar ciencia a los niños.
This is fascinating to teach science to kids.
Cuando a veces enseñamos, cuando en Alicia enseñan todo esto,
When at Alicia Foundation they teach all of this,
es magic.
it's magic,
Harry Potter.
it's mágico,
¿Eh?
Harry Potter.
¿Eh?
So take a look what's happening there.
Entonces, bueno, dijimos, genial, genial, pero claro, solo se puede hacer con leche y con
But then they
lácteos.
were like, bingo, great, but hold on a second. We can only make it with yogurt and milk.
Entonces hicimos todas las versiones posibles
So they began making different versions, all around milk and yogurt,
con queso.
with cheese, everything that had kind of
Bueno,
calcium dairy components.
Entonces fuimos un poquito más lejos y dijimos, bueno, ¿y si le ponemos calcio a la agua?
And then they tried to go, further up. And he began thinking, wow, why we add calcium to water? So we don't have to be using any milk-based dairy products.
Y lo hicimos, probamos
And they made it, they tested,
y el calcio era demasiado fuerte
and the calcium was too strong, was not good enough,
y restaba gusto al producto.
and was taking away the flavor of the product. And Ferran is always about flavor.
No, desastre.
Phew, a disaster.
¿No? Y le dijimos a Pera
So they established a conversation with the scientists, with Pera Castell,
que tenía que buscar un producto alternativo.
and he told Pera, you have to look for another product that we can use in substitute of this calcium chloride.
Y descubrimos el gluconatato.
And they discover glucolactate, gluconolactate, another form of calcium that has almost over 12% content in calcium. Calcium, we're going to call it gluco from now, okay? Gluconolactate, another form of calcium. You find it in cheeses and etc. It's a very common thing.
Esto tenía un problema también,
The basic spherification, the first one we showed you, the one they invented, had another problem
que con el tiempo
that with time, if you will drop the sphere and you will leave it for a long time,
se vuelve gelatina.
can we get the camera right here, sir? Right here. Thank you. That if they will leave it for a long time, take a look what will happen. It's a big, thick ball. It keeps cooking through. The entire thing gelatinizes. It's not liquid in the heart anymore.
La inversa no.
But in the inverse spherification, this will never happen. The cooking just will happen in the exterior. The cooking will not keep penetrating inside the sphere. So that one was brilliant. You saw when he cut it, right? Has the skin and still is liquid inside. But will not keep cooking through. And this was a breakthrough for them. Because you can keep this one for a day or two and for production.
La gente me dice, uy, qué complejo.
So now he shows this and they come to him and tell him, wow, this is so complex.
Esto no lo puedo hacer en casa.
I cannot do this at home.
Muy complejo, ¿no?
Very complex, too complicated.
Y yo le digo, ¿tú qué haces en casa?
And then he answers back, what do you cook at home?
bizcochos.
And he says, genoise, puddings.
Oye, el pudín es mucho más difícil que esto, ¿eh?
Hey, to make a pudding is much more difficult than to make this.
Mucho más, ¿eh?
A lot more difficult.
Entonces, cuando descubrimos el gluconolactato, fue maravilloso.
So when they discovered the gluconolactate, that was a breakthrough. That was marvelous.
El resultado es el mismo.
The final product is exactly the same.
Es una esfera
It's a sphere
líquida dentro.
that happens to be liquid inside.
Esta tiene el problema que se puede hacer con pocos productos y el calcio entra dentro y
The
se
first
quema.
one had the issue that you could only use very few products, and the calcium will cook all the way through. So, not so good.
Y esta no.
And this one had none of those issues. Yeah, the calcium will never penetrate because in this case it's completely the opposite and will not cook through. And you could keep it for a day or two.
Vale.
Is that clear? Yeah, right. Yeah? Right.
Entonces, queríamos ir más allá
So, always with Ferran,
Y
he wanted
después-
to keep moving forward that idea of spherification.
y al bulli vino un señor que era científico
And, as a gentleman came to Bulli, happens he was a scientist,
y nos trajo una máquina. No, nos dijo, ostras, yo tengo una máquina que hace cosas parecidas.
and the scientist told Ferran, hey, wow, this is great, but I have a machine that does something like this, very similar.
Digo, pues tráela.
And he told the scientist, great, bring it on.
Entonces, era mucho más genial. Era más genial que esto.
So that technique was unbelievable.
Bueno, entonces, aquí tenemos el calcio.
So here we have the calcium chloride.
Esta es esferificación básica.
So this one was going back to the beginning, okay? And understand, you'll see why later. This was the basic spherification.
Tenemos el alginato
That's the alginate, yeah, the seaweed base powder.
y lo mezclamos.
And, they will mix the alginate with the water.